So I was doomscrolling on TikTok once again, and I saw this video by Jordan the Stallion, and you probably know him from
Do Not Worry
or from throwing away his glasses. I don't have glasses. You know, he throws things away. And normally he makes videos about things that he found on the internet, like a 1920s toaster or an Iron Man helmet. And of course I can watch him for hours on end, until I found this one.
Place the steak into the pan.
Where somebody explains how to cook a steak and then do something weird with it. And he tries it, and that's the short version of it. And he tries it, and he's super excited about it. And to me, I don't know, I never tried it. And something with a steak that I've never tried, yeah, that's not good, because I need to try everything with a steak, except the honey thing was kind of a failure. It doesn't even, no matter how many times you see people doing that, Max, don't do it. It's terrible.
Place the steak into the pan.
Place the steak on the pan.
But don't season it at all.
Why?
Instead, chop fresh herbs on a cutting board and squeeze lemon juice on top.
I really hope I'm doing this correctly. I never made steak before.
Then sprinkle a handful of salt and black pepper before adding fresh butter.
I got this really cool garlic holder I'm really happy about. Is the butter?
When meat cooks, its liquids get pushed out by heat. But as it cools, it sucks everything in like a sponge.
I'm not gonna lie, this smells delicious.
So when you slice your steak on top of the seasoned board, the juices mix with the herbs.
My goodness, this smells delicious.
And the meat soaks it back up, giving you a delicious sauce that coats every bite.
This actually works. Oh my goodness.
No way that works. Do you think it's gonna be good? Is it going to be good? I don't know. Let's find out. If it works, if this works, then we might be into a tasty treat. So the payoff is there. We're gonna be happy. I'm pretty sure of that. It's not the right word. I love fresh herbs on steak. And luckily I have this. Look, 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 look. Whoa. Isn't that just the most amazing steak? I had this still in my freezer, and I thought we're gonna use this to test the method of Jordan the Stallion. So I'm gonna need a burner and a pan. And of course I'm using the Pitmaster X cast iron skillet. And the cool thing is, it is hand polished, so it's super smooth and perfect to grill steaks in. While this pan is warming up, we need to talk about the strange things in this video.
Place the steak on the pan.
My cast iron skillet is now warm. Let's put the steak in. Obviously, the pan is hot, so he puts the steak in the pan, and it happens the same way in both of the videos. But the weird thing is that there's no oil. There's nothing that is going to help the steak not stick to the bottom of the pan, which probably means you're going to have a non-stick pan. Now, that also means you cannot do this in every type of pan that you like. You need to preheat the pan, and this is important, this is not mentioned. Preheat your pan so it warms up a little bit. That helps the steak from not sticking to your pan. And it helps if you have then a steak that has a little bit of fat inside of it, which then melts and makes its own fat. That definitely helps. The second weird thing is that there's no seasoning.
But don't season it at all.
Why?
So no seasoning, no seasoning. It's been about a minute and a half, and I'm just gonna check on the crust to see how, whoa, oh, look at that. Isn't that a beauty? That crust is starting to look really good. But of course I want to cook the steak as even as I can, so I'm just now gonna put it on the other side.
Instead, chop fresh herbs on a cutting board and squeeze lemon juice on top.
Number 3 weird thing is that we need to chop fresh herbs, which is not strange, but put them on a chopping board. I'm just checking to see what Jordan has on the cutting board, but what I'm looking at is, I think, garlic, spring onion, and a little bit of, I don't know, thyme. So I got garlic, spring onion, and I went to my garden and I got some fresh thyme. I'm gonna chop it up. If you're wondering why aren't you chopping the garlic a little finer, if I look at the images from Jordan the Stallion, well, it's kind of coarse. It's actually a lot coarser than it is right now. So we'll just continue and see what happens.
I really hope I'm doing this correctly. I never made steak before.
Then sprinkle a hand.
A grown man that has never made steak before. That is the third weird thing in this video. I'm not trusting it. Jordan has his little garlic figure, I have my little salt figure. Of course, time for lemon juice. So this is actually not weird to me. So we're basically chopping fresh herbs and then adding butter and salt and pepper, of course, for seasoning, which is kind of a smart thing to do. But then it comes.
When meat cooks, its liquids get pushed out by heat, but as it cools, it sucks everything in like a sponge.
I'm gonna measure the core temperature in my steak to see if it's done. We hit 52 degrees Celsius. Time to take it off, where normally we would let it rest so the juices stay inside the steak, but not this time. This time, we're gonna put it straight on the board. So basically, we're pushing out the moisture from the steak and then putting it on the cutting board, and this is called the rest, to soak up the juices on the board, which obviously have seasoning in them.
So when you slice your steak on top of a seasoned board, the juices mix with the herbs.
My goodness, this smells delicious.
So juices run out, and then the steak soaks the juices back up. So we're not doing the resting. We're just hoping the steak just soaks up the seasoning again, the herbs, the flavor.
Giving you a delicious sauce that coats every bite.
If that works. Now I'm gonna mix it up a bit because that's what he does too. And make sure all of the herbs get everywhere. And I mix the juices and the beef fat with the lemon juice and all the fresh herbs. And this is starting to look really good. All right, let's give it a try. Oh, that is good. I feel the urge to throw something. That's really good. It's a little bit too lemony for me, but it's really good. It's not even too garlicky. It's like chimichurri. And I just love how simple this is. This is just making things very, very simple and very tasty. Oh, I messed up. I didn't put butter on the board. I forgot. Never mind. The steak was so good. There was so much fat from the beef. I didn't need that butter. I think this might have been even better without butter. Can't believe I'm saying that, but that's what this tastes like. I absolutely love the simplicity of the recipe, and I would like to use it as it is for like a weekday. But what if I could add just a little bit more flavor to that steak? Because honestly, that steak was fantastic. But I think there's a better way to cook steak. And I'm gonna fire up my Napoleon Kettle Grill Pro to make that happen. I'm gonna take the grill grates out, put in a couple of briquettes, and to fire it up, I'm gonna use a wool fire starter, open it up for extra airflow, light it up, and put it under the briquettes. Once the fire starter's burned out, I'm gonna put the grill grates back in, open up the top vent and close the bottom vent almost all the way, and I'll be aiming for a smoking temperature of around 140 degrees Celsius. So with the barbecue getting up to temperature, let's reflect on the Jordan Stallion steak. Honestly, for not ever cooking a steak before, it's an amazing steak. It is really, really good. So one of the biggest things that I have a problem with Jordan's steak, not that I don't like it, it's I love it. I love it. I love it, but there's this problem that I can't get out of my mind. I rest my steak normally to make sure that the juices stay inside. You know, what happens is we render down the fat in the steak, and basically the fat starts melting out. It's not juices if you have a big steak like I have. It's more fat that you're rendering down. And then if you let it rest, the fat basically, because the muscles go like this, and then once they start to rest,
They relax again.
definitely they let the juice, but the melted fat go between the fibers again, because the juices in the pan are already going to evaporate, bye-bye, out of the roof. So that's why you need a fatty steak to keep it juicy. And that's kind of the problem with this story. I don't think it's soaking up any of the flavors. I think it's just coating the outside of the steaks with the flavor. And I think that because I have this fatty steak, it's still juicy. So honestly, I don't think that the technique behind it works, but I do believe that seasoning your cutting board is really something fantastic, because, well, basically you're creating a big pile of meat with seasoning, and of course it tastes fantastic. We'll work with the seasoning and the cutting board and how good it is, and we're just going to roll with that. But we're eliminating the pan and the evaporation and putting the juices back in. We're eliminating that part, because that is, even if that happens, it's just going to be such a tiny little bit of that action that doesn't make any sense. So here's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to try and replicate the exact way Jordan did it, except with a little extra technique to make it even better. and I got just the thing because I got another steak. Another one of those steaks. Yeah, baby. All right. Whew. I'm so glad I got my backup steaks. This one is actually a little bit thinner though, but it will do the job. It's still a fantastic steak. Look at the marbling. Look at how good that looks. Let's get it out of the package and start cooking. So I'm not going to season the steak up front, just like Jordan the Stallion, because I want to stick to that idea. However, I am going to use a different technique than just putting the steak in a pan. I will be using the reverse sear method. It's going to give me more control over the temperature inside the steak, and at the same time it's going to give me, well, basically all the options of cooking the steak to perfection and getting an amazing crust at the same time. Oh yeah, and one more thing. I'll be adding smoke wood to the factor so we can actually smoke the steak for even more flavor. So now I'm gonna take this steak and put it directly on the grill without anything. I'm not doing anything other than just putting it on, closing the lid. I'm trying to keep this as simple as I can and stick to the idea of a simple steak can be very, very tasty. So I do have a couple of tricks to make the seasoning on the board a little better. And of course, I'm going to use my trusty pig. So the garlic was a little intense for my liking, so I'm going to use a microplane and my garlic clove. I'm just going to grate it. And by grating it, we're going to make the garlic a little softer. We're breaking down the structure, which is going to make it easier to digest, and at the same time, we're going to make it a little finer, and we're going to use a little less garlic. You see, I've got only this little bit now left. This is about half a teaspoon. And to that I'm going to add a couple of pinches of salt and a little bit of lemon juice. Just a little bit, like a half a teaspoon. Purely with lemon, without heat, it's called ceviche. It's a technique from Peru, and they use it to cook fish, but it also works on vegetable. And in this case, also on garlic. And all I need to do now is just mix that in. And now I'm just gonna let this sit on the board for about 5 minutes. The acidity of the lemon will kind of break down the structure of the garlic, making a little bit milder and taking away that aftertaste that you get when you're basically putting it on raw. You're solving a vampire problem, but that's basically it if you're using raw garlic. Look at my barbecue, by the way. Happily smoking away, cooking that steak. Ooh. So I'm trying to keep the spirit of Jordan the Stallion, and I'm keeping the time. I'm just using the spring stalks of the thyme, keeping it nice and fresh, and I want to keep that a little coarser because it's very easy to digest and chew on, and the spring version of the thyme is just super fresh, super bright, not that powerful yet, not stalky. Now where I'm changing things up is that I'm not going to be using spring onion. I'm going to be using chives. Fresh from the garden again, but chives is just a little finer in structure, and you won't notice it as much, and it will mix better with the steak afterwards. I do really love the onion experience that you get from it, so I'm going to use a little bit more of it. And the cool thing is that currently chives are giving flowers, which is kind of awesome if you want decoration to go with your steak. Something that I will be adding to is parsley. Now, since I don't have that fresh from the garden yet, I'm just gonna get a little bit of supermarket. Feels kind of like a defeat, but hey, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do to make things happen. But I really love the combination of parsley and garlic. And now I'm gonna mix this up again. I'm kind of bruising the herbs with the spoon so it will release its ethereal oils. And now all I have to do is add a little bit of pepper to it. And this time I will not be adding butter again, because I just like the way the steak was the last time, and I'm keeping it the way it is. But if you have like a really lean steak, just use the butter. Okay, let's check on the steak to see how it's doing. Starting to look good, but I need to measure the temperature. That's why I got my chef temp thermometer, so I can actually probe it and see what's going on inside the steak. It's reading about 45 degrees Celsius, which means it's time to start grilling. Now that would normally not be the case, because normally I would just let it rest first, and I also would let it come up to a temperature of about 50 to 52 degrees Celsius. But that only works if you have a thick steak, like a nice 2-finger thick steak, and you're basically treating it like a roast. That is what the reverse sear method is. So I think without further ado, let's put this on some heat. Get some sear marks, get a bit of crust. We got a bit of smoke flavor to this steak. Now that I got my charcoal crust, it's time to put the steak on the herbs. And once again, we're not resting this steak until it's cut up. So let's just slice into it and let it rest while it's on the board with all of the seasoning. So I try to keep the idea of the technique. Simple is the way to go and flavor is on the board. So let's see if that worked. Wow, that is tasty. Really, really amazing. I got a little bit more smoke flavor, I got a little char, I got a little bit more flavor overall. And the lemon and the garlic weren't as overpowering. So personally, I think it's balanced a little bit better, but it's kind of like, make it your own, you know? I'm trying to make it my own a little better than Jordan the Stallion, but somebody else might like the Jordan the Stallion method better because it's super, super simple and you don't have to do much for it and you don't have to be able to do a lot. You just need to put it in a pan. Either way, you're gonna love this method because it's got great showmanship and it's got great flavor. And you can hardly fail. Just get a good steak. That would be my recommendation. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, then leave me a big thumbs up and a comment down below. And if you never heard of Jordan the Stallion before, go check out his Instagram, TikTok, wherever he is. Jordan, just Google Jordan the Stallion. You will find him for sure. Thank you guys. See you in the next one. Until then, eet smakelijk and keep on grilling. Oh yeah.